We can't say the future without AI. I mean, there's no way around it. 50% of workers now believe AI is going to improve their experience. When I come into the meeting room, I need a way to incorporate my AI with what's going on in the meeting. It's almost a bring your own AI type of a concept. Most of what we do in our day-to-day is going to change significantly.
Hear the latest AV trends and predictions in this episode of Crestron's Smarter Spaces podcast on your preferred podcast platform.
AVWeke hosted an event in Tampa to destroy 136 counterfeit loudspeakers. I'm pissed I didn't get an invite.
It sounds like Office Space.
Oh my gosh,
right?
yes,
Yeah.
100%.
There was escape rooms, and then there was that second flavor of things.
Oh, the rage room.
Oh, rage rooms, yes.
Rage
Yes.
rooms.
I stole my note.
I'm sorry.
Rage. He looked at my notebook.
Nobody
Oh
could.
my
Nobody
God.
could. Nobody
Rage
could reach
room.
your hand right.
Oh.
Nobody could reach your hand right.
You spend too much time together.
Why is it still blurry?
That's all the resolution we have. Making it bigger doesn't make it clearer.
It does on CSI Miami.
Combating counterfeit, and Dante gets a new look. But and more next on AV Week. This is AV Week, episode 641, for Friday, December 1st, 2023. Smash, boom, bang. This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of audio-visual news and information. My name is Tim Albright. I am your host. Audio sounds a little different. If you're just listening to the podcast, if you're watching the video, it really looks different here in New York at the Poly HP Experience Center. And we're going to introduce our fine guest first and foremost, Gina Sansivero from Atlas IED. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you for having me. It is always a pleasure to see you in person and get my Tim hugs.
Oh, that was absolutely. We have two Georges, so no waiting. First and foremost, the reason I'm in New York is George Chacko from PACE. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you? Thank you for having me and the next guy that'll introduce himself.
Yeah.
And the Bald AV, we're at George Chacko, Bald AV Guys Pace University.
Yeah. The other guy he's talking about is Rich Miller from PACE as well. How are you, sir?
Good, Tim. Thanks for having us. Hair's looking great today.
Yes, you guys are. And the third Bald AV guy we have is the other George. George Tucker, how are you, sir?
I'm good, and I was here for your Tim hugs too.
Or indeed, I forced it on the old curmudgeon.
We came late. We missed the hugging.
Well, you did. I'm terribly sorry. Really quickly, the reason I'm actually in New York is because of the Bald AV guys. You guys put on a fantastic event a couple days ago. PACE University, Gina was there. She was on the panel that I moderated. She was fantastic. Bunch of really great women in AV. Talk first really quickly, like what's the whole idea? You guys had 200 high school students saying, here kids, here's the AV industry, knock yourselves out.
Yeah. I'll get started. And it's funny because when we started this program, we thought, introducing the high school students, all our stories that we've stumbled into the AV industry. And if we can introduce the college level students to the AV industry, it would be wonderful for our industry that is looking for talent right now. So at the end of the day, as we started doing this and we were speaking to a lot of folks from the industry, and we spoke to, again, I'm going to do a name drop here, James King, because he does get credit for this eventually coming to fruition, is he suggested that it's maybe not that it's too late, but that we need to start planting this seed earlier into when the kids are young. Kids decide on their university or their career path by the time they're in 8th or 9th grade or whatever that is. So that's when Rich and I decided we got to do something to get into that younger generation and start planting. You see that there is a career path. It's not just, pulling cables or hanging a TV on the wall. It is that, but it is more. And we also, the more we started working on this, we wanted to also impress upon the kids that it's not just it's not a guy's club. It could be for anybody. Women are leaders in this industry, and we need more of that new blood, in a good variety. So that was the goal, and I think we came pretty close to it.
Yeah. And the panel, Tim, you alluded to Gina was one of the fantastic guests on the panel. You moderated that panel. We highlighted that, and our student panel. 4 of the 5 students on our panel were also female, and those were, handpicked students from our class the last 2 semesters, and they've been superstars for us. And the fact that we're able to highlight that, and keep pushing forward with this, and we can't thank everybody that supported the event enough, because without everybody, from PACE to our industry friends to those of you that came sitting at the table to all the high schools, I mean, I think we're still on kind of cloud 9 processing everything that happened from 2 days ago. And, it was, we're hoping to make it an annual thing. So we're really stoked about how it turned out.
And I get to meet another George.
Another George.
There's a lot of Georges.
Another ball,
There are
George.
a lot of Georges.
All right. We're going to get actually the super secret LinkedIn video we're going to do is about how to get kids into the industry. So we'll save that till after this. First story comes to us from our friends at AV Network. Audinate has refreshed the brand identity of its acclaimed Dante audio-visual networking platform to reposition it as a complete AV over IP solution. I'm not going to say all of us saw this coming, but all of us saw this coming. This crystallizes Dante's ability to enable communication, experiences, and collaboration across people and spaces using just one plug-and-play network. Mr. Tucker, I'm going to start with you on this. How ready is the industry for Dante video?
I think they're as ready for it as any other platform.
Okay.
Does it fit your solution, and can I integrate it where I need it? I think there's a couple of things with Dante that they've done, or Audinate doing this AV over IP.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, it's new jaw. So one of the things that caught me with this is that they have those little widgets and the little adapters to bring Dante to your existing infrastructure. If they can support the standards they say they did, and the 4K 444 that they're claiming they can do over these things, I think it's brilliant, and people will utilize it. Dante is known for what it's for the audio portion of it. From my world now, which is currently live events, we know Dante like anything.
Mm-hmm.
And we do some installs for my company, and we would turn to this as a solution because it's going to be there. It's something we understand and we know. So I think they're ready for it. It just depends if your infrastructure is going to support
So
it.
really quickly, you mentioned live events, and live events has been using Dante for years.
Yeah.
For audio.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a play there? I mean, is it something where, I guess the best way to ask this, you and I were talking earlier, Kiss is in town for the last show ever, right?
Last two.
If you're an event producer, are you going to lean on Dante or any other AV over IP or the video portion that is becoming increasingly important in live events?
The short answer is maybe, because in our world, we want to ensure that each framework and infrastructure is going to be rock solid and independent. If Dante goes down in a live show and it's both, that's a huge problem.
Sure.
We have backups on backups, but more often than not, I'm looking at having a video and an audio signal flow so that I can manage them independently. There's too much to go wrong in such a huge event, in my mind. Now, you look at the Taylor Swift tour, I'm sure they're using something similar. They might be doing it over a single wire kind of idea, but that's like months and months and months of planning, and that's that kind of stuff.
And there's redundancy there as well.
Yeah. So I'm sort of backtracking myself, but can you see yourself doing that? Sure. But from an old school live guy, I want my independent. I can solve them. I can reroute them.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about them being mixed.
Right. Gina, we mentioned the fact that at least a bunch of us saw this coming, right? And this is not anything new. When Dante announced 4 years ago, I think, the JPEG 2000 part of their chip, but they're getting into a really, really crowded market, right? I mean, all of us in this room, my son is here. If you're seeing the video, he can name half a dozen AV over IP solutions. I guess the best way to ask is, how do they overcome that? How do they overcome that crowded pool mentality that is, oh, you're just an also ran, or oh, you're just another, or oh, it's whatever. How do they get above the noise of everybody else saying, we can do AV over IP?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely hard. I think, of course, they're going to have to find their differentiator, right? What makes them unique to the AV industry and to AV integrators. They have a name, an existing name. That's huge. You have to leverage that, right? But this is just the continued evolution of AV. It is no longer that black magic box that I don't want to tell you how it works. We've simplified systems so much that this is expected. So yes, there's a lot of noise, but the expectation is just that it's going to get easier and easier and easier to find that solution. And you're likely to go with a solution from a name that you trust. So to George's point, you have that vetting process. It has to be robust. It has to be reliable. And once that's over, that brand is going to have a lot of equity.
Rich, I want to start with you on this when it comes to higher education. How ready are universities for this?
That is a loaded question.
The reason I ask this is Dante, the audio platform. They've made inroads into colleges, universities for years, right? I am old enough to remember CobraNet, which is going to give Tucker all kinds of fire.
Heart palpitations.
Yeah. And that was the replacement, right? It was so because CobraNet, I mean, technically CobraNet is still out there. I'm not going to say exactly where, but it's there. That was the replacement as CobraNet started going bye-bye. And now, so they've gotten into colleges and universities, they're there, right? But they're there as an audio platform. How ready are universities to say, okay, yeah, we can use Dante Manager as our video solution as well?
I wish more. George and I were actually talking about this the other day, actually, in one of our many conversations throughout the week.
We spent too much time together.
Yeah.
They have the same hair.
Well, the biggest thing I think is be able to convince folks and proof of concept. So Gina mentioned having a brand name. So coming in with a company that may or may not have a reputation, going to our higher ups, they're going to be like, huh, like I've never even heard. And they may not even heard of Dante or Odinate. Obviously, George and I have because we're in the field or in the industry. But the folks that we're trying to convince to bring this into the university and to make our lives easier, right, and to give a better product. There's constantly, and George will probably go into this a little further. There's constantly events being requested, and it's like, well, we don't really have literally and figuratively the bandwidth to do this.
Okay. So
there's probably some retrofitting that needs to be done, and that's where the dollars come in. So I think the idea of it is there, and while you two of you were giving your answers, it also gave me like a really cool idea, shamelessly idea for our one of our courses that we're still developing, to have our students like come up with their own own version of a Dante type thing, just as a like a simulation type environment. Yeah, like from a design perspective, exactly. So like, that just hit me while you guys were giving your piece. So I was making some notes here, but I'm gonna, I think George might have a couple more details on the in-depth because his day-to-day, but I would love for us to be more ready and be able to make our lives a lot easier. I think we're hitting too many roadblocks still in the higher ed realm.
Yeah, and it's primarily that there are so many different levels of understanding, like Rich mentioned, but also I don't want to say roadblocks. They're not necessarily roadblocks, but like in a university, you have limitations when it comes to network and where you can be on the network and what you can put on the network. My network is like, actually, George and I were talking, the Georges were talking about this a few moments ago about, I would love to do this, but my limitations are XYZ, right? So yeah, I would love to put Dante in the space, or, AI-based camera like one beyond, so I could hit on an X panel some way and control it when I'm in vacation on India or whatever it is, right? But speaking that language on a technical level to the folks that are managing the network, they're like, whoa. You want to send 10 4K feeds over my network at the same time? Let's pump the brakes on that, right? So that is, I think, the biggest challenge. Now, a larger school probably has it easier. Ones that get to control their own networks and so on and so forth, it's probably easier. But I think that challenge is varied from.
Do you think that conversation, though, has maybe changed a little bit since COVID, with the need to go, video remote and all of that? It seems like it's almost ripe for Dante right now to do this in higher ed.
Yes, I think the timing is right. I think we have come to the table for the conversation, but I think there's still a gap that needs to be filled, a bridge that needs to be built between IT and AV. We need to work as one department as we are, because everything's over the network now. So, but I think we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there.
Next story comes to us from AV Magazine, our friends over across the pond. I kind of sub-labeled this Smash Boom Bang because I was just, first of all, L-Acoustics, let's tell the story. L-Acoustics hosted an event in Tampa to destroy 136 counterfeit loudspeakers. I'm pissed I didn't get an invite.
It sounds like Office Space.
Oh
on
my gosh,
steroids.
yes,
Yeah.
100%. Mitchell, that's your graphic. They seized it from the rental company Seven Sounds Music. They were ordered to pay Seven Sounds Music was ordered to pay $5 million in damages to L-Acoustics for trademark infringement. Local partners were invited to smash the fake speakers. Maybe that's why, because I wasn't local, as well as subwoofers. Before they were sent to a sustainability firm to repurpose the materials. Gina, I'm 100% going to start with you on this. Write down manufacturer row. How important is it for manufacturers to highlight counterfeit gear?
Oh, I think it's exceptionally important. I think that it is a brand reputation issue. It is a reliability issue, a perception issue, and I think that also it's a flex. It's a way to. I'm not even.
I know. I like that.
Really,
Yes.
it really is.
Nice.
It's a way to show that you're serious. You're not just a whole bunch of talk that that we have these patents for a reason, and we have these manufacturing processes, and we have these quality control processes for a reason. We have extensive testing for all of our products for a reason. You step on our toes, and you have to. Gosh, my New York almost came out.
I will point out that the Midwesterner here is surrounded by New Yorkers.
When you do that to me, I feel more comfortable speaking in my language.
My native tongue. These them and those.
Tucker's here for as my translator. George Chacko, come with you on this. When you Seven Sounds is the company that got caught with this. But when a counterfeit product comes down the pipeline, what's the impact on the relationship between the customer and the dealer? Not the manufacturer, right? Because as Gina's pointed out, the manufacturer flexed, and I love that. They said, "Hey, look, this is not right." But that has to do some sort of damage between the company that sold the product to the customer. How much damage does that do?
Yeah, first of all, what's that? There was escape rooms, and then there was that second flavor of things.
Oh, the rage room.
Oh, rage rooms, yes.
Rage rooms.
There you go.
I stole my note.
I'm sorry.
Rage. He looked at my notebook.
Nobody
Oh my
could
Rage
read
room.
it, right?
Oh,
Nobody could reach it. Right?
You two spend too much time together.
Nobody could read your handwriting. From a end user perspective, when I buy something, I don't expect to have to test it thoroughly, take it apart. I expect to put it on the wall and walk away, right? And those relationships are extremely critical because the manufacturer and the end user have a very limited relationship. It is growing these days, but like you have your middleman because I can't buy directly from the manufacturer. So you have this trust and faith in a brand, you expect to get a certain product.
Yeah.
If that product, is probably like a really crude way to say this, but then I want to move on to the next one, right? It's all about trust. It's all about, not what have you done for me lately, but like, if I'm buying a product, I expect it to be what I've purchased.
You expect the real thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So if I get burned once, I'm not going to go back that route. So
and you don't have to because you have so many options.
there's so many
right?
options. Exactly.
Yeah.
I guess that's the part I love that. But there's
there's
not one I could go to the next
exactly.
one. Yeah. I'll build my rage room and then go to the next one.
All right, Rich, besides rage. Seriously, when you look at something like this, what are the recourses that you guys have as customers?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, I think George and I both, in being a higher worth, I think we over the years become loyal to a fault sometimes.
Yeah.
So I the idea of blind faith when George was just giving his response came into play. Like you want to open a box, you want to plug it in and walk away from it, right? You don't have to worry about anything. So the fact that when you sent this article around and was like reading, I was like, this really happened. Like, it made me think of just outside of our realm, the other, you're walking down the street and somebody's selling a fake Coach bag or the fake Jordans, like things like
are
that.
in New York.
Yeah.
Three blocks away from that.
Wow.
Quickly, I understand that because my wife and my daughter came out of Louis Vuitton yesterday, and they showed me a $2,200 purselet.
Yeah, with this big,
Yeah, it was
right?
like this. So I understand the attraction.
Yeah. So, and George and I have been in the industry for 20 plus years, so we've definitely been burned, but thank goodness never in this capacity. But I know that you put a certain amount of faith in the person that you're dealing with or the company that you're dealing with. And George always mentioned he mentioned the middleman because that's how we have to operate in our environment 90% of the time or 99% of the time, right? So you're putting your trust that they did their research, that they pulled the right strings for you, and that what they're telling you they're delivering is what they're actually delivering. And your guys or your team aren't gonna be surprised by something. And I can't talk about the rage room because George already stole it.
He does. Georges do that all the time,
Right?
Just generic.
Right?
I'm just saying, I don't have to listen to this for my entire ride home.
Yeah.
I
Yep. I'm circling it. Circling it.
Speaking of Georges, Tucker, I want you to take it from the supplier standpoint. I have no idea, anything about Seven Music. I have no idea what the situation there is, but I am aware of a couple of situations in St. Louis, not with the company that I work for, not with CTI, but back when I was a tech manager, we had a situation where we had an amplifier that was purchased from another dealer in St. Louis, and turns out it was counterfeit. The dealer didn't know, right? They purchased it from so there were several steps in this chain. It did damage, George, to your point, the relationship for a time. How do you go about, number one, verifying that the gear you buy is real, and then fixing that and healing that distrust that suddenly is there?
I think part of it, again, coming from when I worked for a manufacturer of automation equipment, we encountered this as well, where they would get stuff over occasionally from someone saying, no, it's not counterfeit, we swear, to just not telling us. Down to one of the engineers, actually, when I was working there with the engineers looking at the chips, and the chips were engraved with the exact same everything. They counterfeited everything.
Wow.
So their point was, is it under warranty? Did you register it? Because the minute you register it with the company, they're going to tell you that is or isn't the right serial number.
Okay.
They're going to be able to tell you. And, maybe if you get through, they've somehow figured out your serial number or whatever your thing is. But then you start to see duplicates and you trace backwards to where that happened.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. Register. Yes, it's somebody's time. Somebody has data entry. We all love the data entry. Healing it. I'm sorry, go ahead. You had a question?
No,
because that's what we do with everything. We just register. And you have to.
So pause for a second.
Yeah.
You register it as the dealer.
I'm coming from my perspective.
Well, I understand, but I want to make sure that to differentiate or to make sure that we're saying the same thing here. Are you saying that the end user, the person who's purchasing the equipment, is the one who should register it?
Yeah.
Or should that be on the dealer who's putting the system together?
Because it's so rampant, I would be the individual institution that purchased it.
Okay.
Should register it because you have a record of all that. If that dealership goes belly up or something changes or records get evaporated by some natural disaster, you have some kind of connection there.
Okay. So take the
warranty card and go to the site.
Warranty card, but here's the thing: any dealer worth their salt is going to give you serial numbers and logins and passwords at this point. But they're going to give them a doc, right, a spreadsheet, and then George and Rich are going to sit on or somebody and they're going to register this.
Like another intern, register data entry. Yeah, right. I mean, seriously, and that's one of my jobs actually at the company. When we get new gear, we all spread it out, but let's register that. It's in, and it's not really for finding counterfeit. It's that if something happens to this, especially in a small company like we are, we need to get that fixed and turn around as fast as possible, and that makes it so much smoother.
A lot of times when you register, you get an additional 2-year warranty.
Yeah, and you get support.
You have some sort of or advanced replacement, right?
Yeah.
They just registered. It's advanced replacement. We know we know you're real. We know it's real. Knock yourself out. Go.
There are certain systems that I think inherently protect you against that. You know, when you're using IP-based systems and you have endpoints and licenses, each of those endpoints has a registration, for lack of a better term, SKU that is registered with the system. If it's not recognized, you're going to have a problem immediately getting that system up and running.
Okay.
So
My concern though is and then the article doesn't go into it. I couldn't find it anywhere. What percentage of purchasers knew what they were purchasing was not legit?
Well, in this,
And we all know, as your example, the bags on the street,
Yeah.
people who buy Beats headphones that we know aren't Beats.
Right.
You know, I mean,
they're
Backwards.
$10 on the corner of 7 and 40.
yeah. So, but I mean, someone gives it to give to somebody or represent. I mean, it's scales of importance here, but I'm just curious of how many we're willing to say the price performance matches what I want. It's the price I'm going to upcharge somebody I just installed it for because they think it's the real deal. That's my bigger concern too, is where are we going after those guys? Yes, you can go to the source, get the main dealer, but then you've got to go after the people who
But
knowingly did it.
You can't go to the source, right? And here's the thing, and I this is not a political statement, so that's what I'm going to say. Where this is manufactured is not within the confines of the United States government legal system.
Well, did they say that were these manufactured overseas?
Yes.
I don't know. Okay.
Well, here's the thing: that this story has been going on for a while. We've covered it a couple different times. I just found it interesting because they get to smash it.
I'm so into that too.
Oh yeah. But yeah, it's you know, and we have at least in Georgia heard this. I don't know if Rich in Georgia has heard this part, but you have manufacturing facilities that are not within the U.S. They'll run a third shift based on your intellectual property and sell it out the back door, right? Not all of them do it, but it certainly does happen.
It's rampant enough that it's common.
Yeah. I mean, I can pick on or microphone manufacturers for kind of loud, not pick on them, but I have heard the stories.
Well, fake SM58s are everywhere.
He just said, yes, that was one of them that I know. The SM58, which is a very common, very popular microphone. You can get it counterfeited if you want. Now it's what is it, $50, $100 now? So you can, yeah. So yeah, that's the only thing that gets me is yes, you can go so far up the chain within the legal system that we have here in the States, but there is a lack of mechanism and framework to protect it once it gets outside the borders.
Yeah, and that's one for a legal guy.
Oh yeah,
that's one for Josh. So
yeah, we need Josh Trago.
Yeah, he needs to talk about that.
Yeah. All right. Hi, Josh. He doesn't listen anymore. He's just,
that's not
he's buried in legal.
He's not. He's off being a lawyer and a barrister.
Hi, Josh. I don't know.
You should know.
Josh,
Does he wear the wigs?
Yes.
I can see him wearing them.
He would totally wear it.
Yeah, I
Josh
can see him.
Trago, look him up. He's a very smart guy, and he's the one who turned me on to security.
He's too
him
smart.
and Bradford.
Yeah,
turned me on to security.
Bradford too.
Yeah, Bradford's also very smart. Sometimes he's too smart for my own good. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. George Chacko, how do people get a hold of you?
I'm on LinkedIn, George Chacko CTS, or Bald AV Guys on socials, or you can email me at gchacko@pace.edu.
All right, Mr. Miller.
Rich Miller on LinkedIn, at Bald AV Guys on all the socials, and R Miller at pace.edu.
All right, Star.
Mostly on LinkedIn. I do sort of visit Threads and have a community there. But other than that, those are the two best.
All right, Gina.
And I am Gina Sansivero on LinkedIn. I am Gina Sans on X. Had to pause there for a second. I am Gina.Sansivero on Instagram, but that is food and puppies.
I will point out that Gina is Italian, so you definitely want to follow her.
Yes, especially for the sauce making, right?
Actually, she makes the sauce making. For me, for Tim, don't follow me on anything. Because at this point, the Bears are just the Bears. Go by the website, AVNation.tv. That's AVNation.tv. You will find this program and a host of others. And here in about 2 months, which sounds really weird to say, Gina and I will be in Barcelona. The Tweet Up registration is up. We're going to be in the HD Base T booth, along with our friends at Commercial Integrator and the 40 Under 40 alumni, not just this year's 40 Under 40, but just all the folks that have made the 40 Under 40 for the last 10 years. So that will be on Tuesday from 4 to 6 CET, which I still don't know what that means.
Barcelona time.
Barcelona time. But you can register for that on our website as well. So all that and more at AVNation.tv. It's AVNation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for watching. That is all the time we have for AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is Erin Marmoran of EdTech. The world of higher ed AV is growing rapidly. That's why each month we hear from the best and brightest from colleges and universities all over the U.S. Check out EdTech on avnation.tv or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.